ClassFitness.com, and I want to kind of expand upon something that I touched on in another video about Tabata intervals, and that is the idea that the vast majority of exercises or movements or whatever you want to call it that most people apply the Tabata interval protocol to are completely wrong. In fact, instead of me sitting here and trying to tell you, what exercises would be a good idea with Tabata intervals, or to tell you which ones would not be a good idea, it'd be easier for me to just tell you which ones are, because there's only a couple of them. Now, if you saw my other video on Tabata intervals, you'll know why most Tabata workouts you see these days prescribed by the magazines or the guru trainer wannabe cool guys, why they're wrong, and they're just they're trying to use buzzwords and all this other bullshit, and they're actually putting out pretty shitbag workouts that are gonna routinely end up being ineffectual because they don't adhere to the original research and the original principles that Tabata used when he came up with the 8 rounds of 20 on 10 off. So given that, you have to know why certain exercises are only there's only a couple of different exercises or movements that are actually good for the Tabata protocol. Now, if you think back to that other video, you remember we talked about max VO2. And max VO2 is it is a measure of the most amount of oxygen your body can utilize during a 1-minute bout of intense aerobic activity. So as hard as you can possibly work at an activity for 1 minute straight, the most amount of oxygen that your body can utilize during that's your max VO2. Tabata, remember in his research, had his athletes working at 170% of their max VO2. And he was able to do that because instead of working for an entire minute, they were only working for 20 seconds at a time. Well, knowing that means they're always having to work harder, faster. Get more done. To be able to get more done in such a short period of time, because remember, they're only working for 20 seconds, you have to have a range of motion, or you have to have a pattern of movement that's actually very short and that allows for a very quick turnaround from rep, for lack of a better term, from rep to rep to rep to rep. At the same time, you cannot be hindered by other physiological processes. You can only be hindered by your cardiovascular conditioning, your cardiovascular capabilities. That's why most exercises aren't a good idea. So if you take a look at the original research, Tabata had his speed skaters doing cycling ergometer, a stationary bike of some kind, and if you think about that, if a rep, quote unquote, is a revolution of the crank of the pedals, that's a fairly short range of motion. You can always be going harder, always be going faster. At the same time, there's no turnaround time, in that if from one rep to the next, you don't have to start again, reverse direction and go the other way. If you think about, let's say, a squat, you're going to squat down, you have to stop, reverse your momentum, and then come back up again. There is only so much you can do in a certain period of time. There's only so many squats you can do in a certain period of time. With something like a stationary bike, you can always push it just a little bit more because you are able to work that much harder, because the range of motion is fairly short, because there isn't that microscopic turnaround time between revolutions. The other thing that can actually work, or that works well, is simply just running. Simply because the amount of time between steps, because each step would be considered like a rep, is so momentary. It's a lot faster even than, let's say, switching directions from a normal exercise. And again, the range of motion is so short that you can go from rep to rep to rep, or in the case of running, step to step to step to step, so fast that you can always try and get in one more step. You can always try and get in, just that much more work. When you can get in that much more work, you can work that much harder, work that much more intensely, and at a greater percentage of your VO2 max. Now, when you think about all these other exercises that you see people applying them to, it just doesn't work. Something, let's say, like a dumbbell or kettlebell snatch for Tabata principles. The range of motion, or even swings or clean and press, anything along those lines, the range of motion is so long on something like that it takes so long to go from point A to point B and then back to point A again. Point A being the start, point B being the end, and then point A being the start again. That there's only a finite number of reps you can get done in a 20-second time period. Same thing goes with burpees. Burpees are horrendous for the Tabata protocol, in my opinion, because if you take a look, you've got to start standing, squat down, kick your feet back, do a push-up, kick your feet back, or forward again underneath you, stand up or jump up. That's such a long movement that there's only so much you can do. And once you start to fatigue, you can't work harder, and you can't do more. And so, and the thing is it's also such a long range of motion it has such a long range of motion that, it doesn't, a little bit of fatigue, at all these different points in the movement, from the standing to the squatting down, from the squatting down to the kicking the feet back, from the kicking the feet back, to the push-up again. You add just microscopic amounts of rest time. As you fatigue, you can't move as fast, and all of a sudden it doesn't take long before you're knocking 1, 2, 3 seconds off. Well, out of a 20-second round, that's nothing, or that's, you're knocking off a good chunk of your round. Whereas compare that, let's say, to running, you might be running slower, but your feet are always moving. If you're on a stationary bike, your feet are always moving in a circular crank. You're always cranking. So you see where the range of motion ends up working against you, because there just is simply, no matter how fast you go, a finite number of reps you can do on something that takes that long to perform, a single rep. Like when you compare 1 rep of a burpee to 1 step, when it comes to stuff like push-ups or squats or, God knows, kipping pull-ups, that's stupid, but whatever. When you see that kind of thing done for the Tabata protocol, the problem you run into there is you're almost always going to end up, once you get, depending upon your conditioning level, once you're, 3 rounds in, 4 rounds in, 5 rounds in, you're going to end up getting hindered by your muscular endurance, and that's what's going to hinder you long before your cardiovascular capability is. I dare you to do, hit the floor and try and do a Tabata protocol for push-ups and not have your chest and your triceps burn by the 3rd or 4th round. Well, guess what? That is going to be what's hindering you, and there's no way you're going to get to that kind of max VO2 level that you need to in order for Tabata principles to really work. So I'm not saying it can't be a hard workout, but it's not a true Tabata workout, and you're not going to be eliciting the same sort of results and responses that the Tabata protocol is supposed to. So if you're not going to be getting the responses that Tabata is designed to get, then why do it in the first place? Do something different that's going to allow you to do more volume. I see people go out and they say, oh, well, I can still get a hardcore workout doing Tabata burpees. Well, I tell them, we'll go do 100 burpees for time instead. You're going to do more burpees. It's not going to take you that much longer. You're going to be able to manage fatigue better. You're not going to be stuck in this funky time thing, with the rounds and all that, and you're actually going to get a better workout, and you're going to develop more capacity. So really, unless you're running or you're using a specialized, stationary bike of some kind, and you want to do the Tabata protocol, just don't do it. Those 2 exercises, and as long as you can work at that kind of capacity. Other than that, just let it go and figure out other ways to accomplish what it is you're looking to do. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel, like it on Facebook, share this video on Facebook, tweet it out to all your pals, and don't forget to join all the cool kids on the Working Class Fitness Newsletter. You'll see a video, you'll see a link video, whatever. You'll see a link at the end of this video. That's what I'm trying to damn say. Hit that link, enter in your email address, and I'll be sure to let you know when all the new YouTube videos come out. I'll send you some cool workout tips, several times a week, and I'll even shoot you a free sample of Working Class Fitness Killer MMA workouts. Sound good? Cool. We'll see you next time. Till then, train hard, rest hard, play hard.